If you're a Halo fan to any extent, chances are at some point or another you probably paid attention to the armor customization that was in multiplayer. It was so awesome always being able to customize the way that your character looked, and this was one of the first major franchises to make customization such an integral part of the game. While armor pieces and chest pieces are cool, it always was the helmet that brought the whole appearance together. So what if we looked at every single helmet over the years of Halo and pitted them together in some sort of sick battle royale? Who would come out on top? Which helmets would be the winners and which would be the losers? But do you ever wonder, what if the Master Chief and the Arbiter decided to start up their own donut business when they weren't trying to save all of life? Well, if they were gonna have a donut business that was legitimate, they'd probably need a good website and would likely use Squarespace, who actually sponsored this video. From being able to build and manage your own website, to having a ton of different customization tools to really make it your own, Squarespace is your best option to build a professional looking website and run your business. More about that at the end of this video. So a good place to start with talking about the helmets of Halo. Halo 3, it was the first Halo game to really allow you to make your Spartan in multiplayer look however you wanted it to look. No more were the days where you just had to pick between a Spartan or an Elite. You had some options to work with. Of course, at the very beginning, everyone was given the typical Mark 6 Master Chief helmet to begin with, though Bungie kind of made it a point to make you at least somewhat feel like you were a different Spartan than maybe Master Chief, as right away they didn't let you pick the same shade of green that Chief normally had. They kind of forced players into this corner where they had to think about what colors and what their character would look like, unless they wanted to run around like this olive green looking thing. But if you didn't want to rock out to the Mark 6 helmet, as you probably did back in the Halo 2 days, they did drop you with the option of the CQB helmet, which definitely was a choice amongst a lot of players who just jumped right into it and hadn't unlocked anything just yet. However, as players continued to play through Halo 3, they would unlock new armor and new helmets along the way that kind of made them stand out against the competition. ODST was one of those first unlocks that a lot of people jumped to and became a fan favorite very easily. It was cool. ODSTs already existed in the universe of Halo, and getting to throw one of those helmets on your Spartan, even with a gold visor, was really awesome back in the day. And when ODST came out, it even furthered more people wanting that helmet. Bungie did a really cool thing just expanding the universe of Halo in the armor customization. They put the Mark 5 helmet, the original helmet from Halo Combat Evolved, as not only a cool nod to the first Halo, but also just a cool way to expand the universe a little bit. And of course, that helmet became synonymous with the character Caboose from Red vs. Blue. Other cool helmets were introduced along the way too, like Scout and Rogue, which kind of looked like a duck version of Scout. EOD also was a thing. It looked like a monkey. I don't know, this one was a little weird. Then there were a few select helmets that were just a step above the rest. There was the security helmet, my personal favorite helmet in all of Halo 3, which could only be unlocked by achieving 1,000 gamer score, and everyone said it looked like a fly. And you know what? I was okay with having this bug-looking fishbowl thing. I kind of like the historical aspect of it being a nod to Bungie's older game Marathon, and this helmet was one of the harder ones to get, but also not necessarily a fan favorite as much, so I felt like I was kind of a little more unique wearing the security helmet. EVA was another helmet that was kind of different than the status quo when it came to Halo helmets. It was pretty popular, though I wasn't a fan of this one at all. Actually, I remember despising the EVA helmet back in the day, but somehow I thought security was like the best thing ever, so maybe I was a little bit hypocritical back then. And then there was Hayabusa, which seemed like every Halo 3 player and their dad wanted this helmet and thought that this helmet was the most badass looking thing that had ever been introduced to a video game ever. And of course, they weren't doing it right if they didn't pair it with the sword that went on the back with it. And honestly, you can't deny the fact that Hayabusa does look really cool. And honestly, it's a shame that this helmet hasn't made a return since. And then there was Recon, which was a big deal back in the day. At first, just no one could get Recon, period. It was only a Bungie thing. If you worked for Bungie, or maybe Bungie had single-handedly picked you out to have Recon, that was the only way you could get it. It was this mysterious, sought-after helmet. And then when ODST came out, Bungie gave you a pathway to get that helmet. However, you had to jump through so many different hoops, and for the players who pulled it off and got the Recon helmet, there definitely was a sense of pride pride and accomplishment, the good kind, not the EA kind, until, you know, they just made Recon free for everyone later on. So with this better understanding of Halo 3, which helmets came out on top here, and how will they hold up against the helmets introduced in later Halo games? Of course, I'm going to give my incredibly biased opinion and say that Security Helmet was my personal favorite from this batch of helmets, though if I had to make a call based off of the popularity in Halo 3 back in the day and into the Master Chief Collection today, Hayabusa probably is the helmet that takes this one to kind of face off against the helmets from later Halos. And if we have to pick the biggest loser, while I absolutely hated EVA back in the day, I think I'm going to go ahead and give it to EOD here, just because all of the variations of EOD in the future kind of felt a little bit better, and I mean, it still kind of looks like a monkey. Halo Reach came next as far as main multiplayer Halo games go, and boy did they up the ante with the customization options. Not only were there more helmets, attachments for the helmets, but now you could actually have different visor colors that completely changed up the way that helmets were perceived. This was kind of in line with the newer art style that Bungie introduced for Halo. First up, there was just the default helmet, which was a good choice to start things off, but honestly, the way that Reach was built, with your character also being the campaign protagonist, the grind was real in Halo Reach to get the best of the best armor possible. And when I say the grind was real, it was real. It took so long to rank up to get the armor that you wanted, and so many Halo players back in the day committed to the grind to make their Spartan look exactly the way that they wanted, you know, just to have to do it all again in the Master Chief Collection with the Battle Pass. Right away, there were a few helmets that players jumped to using, especially the more casual players who maybe didn't like matchmaking as much because this was all they could afford with their credits. But CQC, HAZOP, and the Halo Waypoint helmets like CQB were obviously popular choices for players like that. But let's be honest, how many people gave up on their dreams after grinding for a few weeks and just settled for fursuiting as an ODST once again? You're not a real Halo player if at one point or another you didn't just dress your character up in ODST and call it a day while you continue to try to save up more credits once again. If you were recruited into some sort of weird Halo Reach clan back in the day, chances are they made you wear a military police helmet. Otherwise, why would you wear this helmet? Actually, when we're recording this video, Tails from the Kikawani Station video, when he was helping out getting footage for this video, he went on this huge monologue as to why the military police was the best helmet in all of Halo, and how it had been in every single Halo game before, and how it was accurate to some sort of lore or something. I don't know. But a lot of people who were in it to win it with the armor grind wanted to get either the helmets that the Noble team had, like the Commando helmet, or of course Emil's helmet, which was a really big deal. And so many people got faked out, by the way, thinking they could get Emil's helmet by unlocking the EVA helmet first and then getting the attachment for the skull part. But nah, Bungie probably knew exactly what they were doing and made them separate helmets. So many people bought the EVA helmet without realizing they couldn't get the skull unless they later unlocked the different EVA helmet that only showed up once you reached a certain rank. But man, that helmet really became the fishbowl helmet back in the day. The skull version was pretty cool though. Of course, they did include old helmets from Halo's past, like the Mark 6 or the Mark 5 helmet, and even the Grenadier helmet, which is kind of a Spartan 2 inspired helmet. But this time they kind of put them further along in the ranking unlocks so that having these helmets became something special rather than just something you started out with. And they got a lot of people really working to get the old Mark 6 helmet again. That was one of the most commonplace helmets in Halo 3, now became a symbol of status. But still, no matter how many times people tried to make their character look like Master Chief with that Mark 6 helmet, it never looked right. And then there was the people who were in it for the long grind, trying to get to the end of that unlock grind to get that helmet that they always wanted. We're talking about the high-end stuff like Gunganir, the pilot helmet, the security helmet, which was the only reason I grinded Halo Reach so much back in the day, because I still like the way that security helmet looked. Seriously, look at this. But of course, if you did the 100% unlock, you could get the Skull pilot helmet, and that was the end-all, be-all, show-off helmet to show how awesome you were at Halo Reach, that you had managed to unlock everything that the customization had to offer. Oh yeah, and EOD was back again, but this time it really looked like a stormtrooper. It was better than the monkey. Recon also made its return, just being a higher tiered helmet. Unless you pre-ordered the game, then you just got Recon, which was pretty jarring because Recon had always been this highly sought after thing, and now it was just kind of there. But still a fair and familiar bet if you're an older Halo fan and you wanted something kind of cool. I don't think anyone looked bad wearing the Recon helmet. So if we had to look at Halo Reach as a whole and pick the winners and losers here, of course in my personal opinion, opinion, I'm picking security, but that doesn't matter. I gotta pick based off of what I think the community would mostly agree with back in the day, even though this is just my best guess estimation that most people are not going to agree with anyways. It's probably really close between ODST, Mark V, Recon, Mark 6, and Commando, and EVAC somewhere in there as well. But I want to give it to ODST just because it was such a fun helmet back in the day, especially with this game just coming out 1 year after ODST. There was so much lore and hype still surrounding the games, and kind of being able to customize your ODST looking character however you wanted was just a lot of fun. For losers, I'm sorry, Tails, I'm gonna put Military Police on this list. I just don't think Military Police really was like the one helmet everyone was just hyped to throw on when they could. But then we go to Halo 4, and Halo 4 introduced so many helmets. Like seriously, there's way too many to actually go through. So of course we'll talk about the best and the worst and the most interesting, and then see how that kind of stacks up against the other Halos. Halo 4, while it did have a very new art style and different art style, introducing Spartan 4s, of course, alongside what 343 changed up for Halo, it also added a lot of new customization things like various visor colors from just what Halo Reach had to offer. Of course, in MCC, you can only have a red visor, so that's all we have footage for here. But yeah, Halo 4 is really weird. For the most part, we typically felt like a lot of the helmets were just mediocre or not that good. Sure, some of the helmets actually hit it pretty well out of the park. Mark 6 looked alright. I like this new operator helmet. It reminded me of Security. Oceanic kind of looked like a diver or something. And I think a lot of people liked helmets like Venator, even though I didn't agree with them. Enforcer, Warrior, even Raider was different. EOD was back again, still kind of looking like a stormtrooper. CIO definitely brought on a very different and dumb look into helmets. And then there was the Fotis helmet, a helmet I could never fully wrap my mind around just because I could not figure out why this helmet existed. I know a lot of people really like this helmet for whatever reason, and you know what? Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. You guys are definitely entitled to love the Fotis helmet. You're wrong, but you're entitled to that opinion. I'm just kidding, kinda. Some helmets made great returns that looked really good, like Scout and Recon, and then Rogue happened, which looks nothing at all like the Halo 3 version of Rogue. I don't know what happened with this one. This one's really disappointing. And then there was Scanner if you felt like wanting your Spartan to look like there was a car radio cassette player attached to your head. Also, the EVA helmet came back, but then they also had the Strider helmet that looked pretty much just like EVA. Also, real quick, what did they do to the Commando helmet? These two don't look anything alike. Also, look at the Orbital helmet. It's the replacement to EVA-C, except it's really underwhelming and not intimidating at all. We're gonna have to pick a winner here, though I liked Operator as my own personal pick, and Mark 6 was pretty cool as a representation of the newer armor style. We felt like Enforcer was a good mix of the new armor style, while also kind of still feeling somewhat like Halo, and it was a really popular pick back in the day. Despite my dislike for Fotis, out of respect for the people who really like it, I think everyone can unanimously agree that Rogue definitely was a letdown if you're a fan of the Halo 3 Rogue, and because of that, we don't really see why they couldn't just give it a completely different name, why they had to take the Rogue moniker and kind of ruin the Rogue helmet forever. We'll miss our duck helmet forever because this is what we got instead. Halo 2 Anniversary also was a thing, which honestly didn't do too much more in terms of customization. Essentially, you could just choose between 3 different helmets. There was the default one, there was Hoplite, and there was Centurion. Oddly enough, with Halo 2 Anniversary, and it's likely because it was really just built upon what we believe is Halo 4's engine, not actually Halo 2's engine, it's just a Halo 2 themed Halo 4 game, and it really falls more in line with the Halo 4 art style. Still, we just kind of typically felt like Mark 6 was the best looking one here, and I always thought Centurion just looked a little odd. And then if we thought Halo 4 had way too much armor to go through, then we get to Halo 5, which was very jarring. For the most part, it felt like Halo 5 had just a lot of helmets that were more or less these vague looking things that you couldn't really differentiate what it was from a different helmet as easily as other Halo games. Sure, there were some helmets that looked really good in Halo 5, especially things that were returning helmets from previous Halo games. Like the Grenadier helmet looked good. I actually really love the way Security looked in Halo 5 Guardians, even though they kind of did a rework of it. And then there's the ODST helmet, which does look a lot different, and I'm not not at all a fan of it. We had the Helios Skrill, which was a very different type of helmet, as it was the first ever Spartan helmet that's modeled after looking like an elite. This was like a role player's best fantasy for Halo ever. It's a weird idea, but honestly with the newer art style, it kind of worked here. But if you were a real true Halo gamer, you definitely rocked that Seeker helmet, the clear winner of Halo 5 Guardians. Just look how good this looks, right? What did they do? Yeah, there's so much to unpack out of Halo 5 Guardians, but for the most part, the community consensus kind of landed around that the returning helmets, for the most part, were actually really good looking with a few exceptions, and most of the new helmets introduced were kind of bland. Most players typically went with a helmet at least they were somewhat more familiar with, and I think it just says a lot about Halo 5's helmet styles that no one really latched onto the newer looks. Still, the returning helmets looked really good, and Seeker looked really bad. So there you have it. These are our Halo winners when we come look at the best Halo helmets of all time, and it's time to pit them against each other here, which we actually want to turn around and have you guys do in the comments down below. Let me walk you through this. In your comment, start it off with your favorite Halo helmet from all of the Halos, just the one that you think's the best, whether it's in the finals or not. Then go ahead and pick which of the finalists you guys think should win this, and we will try to tally this all up and make a community post later with who we think maybe won. If you wanted some sort of definitive answer to close out this video and I was just going off of my opinion, my personal favorites are Security, the one that looks like Security but it's not called Security, and then Security in Halo 5. Though if I had to pick one winning helmet that's the best helmet to represent all of Halo, I would probably give it to, out of these finalists, the ODST helmet, just because of what it did, how much it inspired different art creations outside of Halo, and how many people just really enjoy the ODST subplots to the Halo games. So yeah, oh, and worst helmets, Seeker, FOTUS, and like military police. And once again, thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Whenever we have brands that support us like this, it gives us the opportunity to just make whatever content we want, and honestly, Squarespace has been great to us. Squarespace is great because besides the fact that you can actually build a really professional and good looking website, they have a ton of different tools that you are given access to that really give you just a ton of options to run and manage your website the way that you want to run your website. There's tools to schedule out posts for the future, and they have a really great analytics tool that gives you further insight as to when and who is visiting your website. The tools that they have on Squarespace are just great because it just makes everything a whole lot easier to take on when you're first getting started. You feel like you're already set up to be as successful as anyone else who has websites out there. They also have an included platform that can help you grab a domain name that's the best fit for your website. And just the fact that Squarespace has this platform where you can build your website, see everything that's going into your website, and see who's looking at your website, along with just getting everything set up like your posts and your domain name all in one place. It's really, really convenient. Go to squarespace.com/rocketsloth and you can save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Do double check that you guys are in fact subscribed down below. It would mean the world to us. There are over 75 helmets we had to go through and record for this video. It was a huge undertaking for Luke and I on this one. And a quick shout out to everyone who helped us with the footage. Saltini Bot, Deborah Daya, 2AM XO, Dim Entree, and Tails, even though he didn't have most of the content installed in time and was just kind of sitting in the party waiting for stuff to install. You guys get it. We really appreciate it, everyone. We'll see you guys all next time with a brand new video. Bye guys.